Okay, it's been a little while. Let's see if I can try a video. I've got Winnie with me, so she'll probably be a nuisance. The cosmic foam. Let's talk about the cosmic foam. Terence Howard talks about the flower of life. The flower of life is a really important symbol, provably so, because it turns up through ancient history and unexplained ancient history. Terence Howard describes it as soap bubbles interacting with each other, creating negative spaces in different ways, and then he had a structure for these negative spaces. Now, all of those negative spaces you noticed had tangential points, literally points. And I want you to just to make an assumption that he's describing the cosmic foam, the surface of it, and it is just a layer of overlapping bubbles. All the bubbles in the foam overlap each other. They are creating negative spaces in between. But that those points join up with the next negative space. Because there is a motion of inside-out motion of the bubbles of the cosmic foam. So science describes a 720 twist in the structure of particle physics in the standard model. And so what that means is that something goes through a 360 rotation, but it's fully transformed. It needs to go through a 720 before it's rotated back to its existing state, because it's got a twist in it. There's a complication. What that does is it creates an aperture for a briefest of moments, a moment of a moment of a moment. This is so minuscule. But what that does is it means that the negative spaces connect to each other. And what that does, it creates a restriction on the expansion of the spheres. So those bubbles are trying to expand, but they're restricted by the negative spaces in between. If those negative spaces compress, they'll form a restraint against the motion of expansion for a moment and become illuminated. And that's what happens, because the negative spaces become positive for that tiny duration. When the surface does its 720 twist, when there is an aperture, the negative space becomes positive in terms of charge, light. And so the negative space becomes illuminated. Immediately that happens, the sphere is filled with light again, so the low pressure environment is the sphere, there's an aperture, the light just goes to the aperture, the sphere glows again. So it's a light. So the light is lit. But for that briefest moment, this space is. Now, if you know that space connects to the other negative spaces, it creates a membrane. A network is created of infinite shape and size based on those overlapping bubbles, those randomly overlapping bubbles, or with negative spaces in between them, forming a membrane, a network, with light in it for a briefest of moments. And that's matter. It has elastic, plastic properties of varying qualities depending on the overlapping structure of the bubbles. And when those bubbles, when you think about the bubbles are made from gases, let's just take hydrogen and oxygen and enter water, and think about the simplicity of the structure, and imagine that the foam of water, the cosmic foam that creates the water, has the structure of hydrogen and oxygen overlapping. That's the strongest force within that structure of the water. That's why it's matter. Its cosmic foam takes on the properties of this overlapping, and it becomes this fluid. Matter that we're made from is exactly the same. Exactly the same. It's a membrane of negative spaces that gets illuminated from within in each moment. We can move through this foam. We are a foam bubble. Your foam bubble has its own unique qualities and properties, and with the distinct boundary of your particular foam bubble. And so, but you move through the foam bubble of your atmosphere with the nitrogen, and oxygen, the various, mainly nitrogen, you move through. And that's easier. It's just like pushing through foam. You don't even notice it. The foam is of the density because of the properties of the atomic structures. Now, it means that when you look at the stuff in science in terms of atoms, molecules, atoms, particle physics, think of it in that context, that you're viewing it from the negative spaces, from the matter. So you are matter. You're made from matter. Your perspective of what's happening and the world around you is from matter, and so it is within particle physics. But you're viewing it from matter. So you're seeing an expansive force. What you're missing is the negative spaces, our cells, the matter. And you think it sounds crazy? Cosmic foam? 1915, Dr. Victor Levy proved that when you have ultimate tensile force, but that is held, that it has strength. If you try to stretch something, the ultimate limit until it breaks, the moment before it breaks, is at its strongest. There's motion there. And from that motion, you construct a world made from cosmic foam. I can prove it using a document that's already written and already in science. It's been there since 1915. Provably true that they're lying. Provably true. Proving that science is lying to us. Lying. Downright lying. And here's the truth. Here comes the cosmic foam. Here comes the wave machine.